Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move Podcast, a very special edition of the Move Podcast. I'm Lance Armstrong, sitting here with pretty boy George Hincapie. We would have started this a lot earlier. He was down. I haven't showered since the ride we did here in Beirut for all the people affected by the blast 2 months ago today. I'm sitting here with George Hincapie. We are, as I just said, sitting here. By the way, it's a very international episode of the Move today. We're sitting here in Beirut, Lebanon. We'll talk about the event we did just a couple of hours ago with our good friend Max Chaya called Bike for Beirut. Max will come on and just talk to us a little bit about the crazy devastation that took place in this country. Over there, actually not that far from us, is Johan in Madrid. And even JB Hager, who would usually be, looks like he just crawled out of bed. He's got his bed back there. Usually be in Austin, Texas.
I made the bed.
Yeah, nice work. And JB's up in Fort Worth with his daughter for a wake surf competition. So today we're talking about, and I should also add, today's show, like every show this season, brought to you by OURA Ring. So today we're going to talk about Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the Tour of Italy, the BinckBank Tour, which I'm going to learn a lot about as well. And we're going to tell you a little bit about Bike for Beirut. But a little bit of business before we get to that. Today's show brought to you by OURA Ring. This thing is I'm wearing it right here. You see it. You may not even see it. It's so small. I love this device. We backed this company years ago and just continue to be so proud about the job they're doing. Partnerships all over the place in professional sports, the NBA, the WNBA, UFC, NASCAR. A lot of riders on the Pro Tour are using it. All kinds of data through the night, sleep cycles, total sleep, core temp, which is the key when it comes to potentially seeing the onset of COVID in these crazy times. Head on over to OURAring.com. That's OURA, O-U-R-A, ring.com. I know that's no Anthony Sullivan read, but you know what? I'm a long ways from home. I'm a little off my game. Last one here for a sec. Today's show also brought to you by PowerDot. Look, I'm halfway around the world, and the PowerDot is in my bag. I don't leave home without it. It is my go-to recovery tool. All these aches and pains that we get as old farts, I'm just telling you, it's my go-to. It's the size of a double cheeseburger, totally integrates with Apple Health and Strava, and the smart recovery feature used by athletes in pro cycling, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the PGA. And if you don't like it, 30-day money-back guarantee. Head on over to powerdot.com/themove, powerdot.com/themove, 20% off with the buy code THEMOVE. So, what an interesting, I mean, we had the ride today, George and I did with probably 100 folks here in the streets of Beirut amidst all the destruction and devastation. And we rushed home and we caught the last part of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. You know, this season just hasn't disappointed. It's who would have seen these things coming? Who would have seen Julian Alaphilippe, who is in my mind, a complete professional. It's the one thing, like if there's anything, kids, that keeps you up at night about pro cycling, you think you're going to win bike races, don't put your hands up unless you are 100% sure that you're going to cross the line first. Who would have thought that happened to Julian Alaphilippe?
Yeah, that was something we were all shocked to see. But I mean, going back to your point, these guys just finished the Tour de France, 2 weeks ago, and they're still out there. You know, the World Championships, probably one of the hardest World Championships we've seen in a couple of years. Straight to Flèche Wallonne, straight to Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and it's the same players at the front. The guys winning the overall in the Tour de France, the guys winning the last stages, the guys winning the World Championships. The same four guys are now currently the strongest guys in the peloton, and nobody can match their speed.
This kid, Mark Hirshi. I mean, look, we can all agree. Johan, I want your take on this. He had, of course, Julian Alaphilippe ultimately forget putting his hands up and making a huge mistake, ultimately relegated because of the major quack in the sprint. Mark Hirshi would have won this bike race.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, Johan.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's not forget, guys, he won Flèche Wallonne 3 days ago. You know, right. Alaphilippe wasn't there. You guys probably were traveling already, but so he won Flèche Wallonne incredibly. And today, in my opinion, without the maneuver of Alaphilippe, he would have won.
Well, and that's how rare is it? Johan, you would know this looking back over time, but I mean, how rare is it that you get the double, right? To win Flèche and Liège that's very hard to do.
Yeah, it is, but let's, as you said before, this is a different season. The tour with Tour de France legs, and, it's kind of, the guys who have some left, or the guys that will be up there in these hard races, like the World Championships, like Flèche Wallonne, like Liège-Bastogne-Liège. And it's funny, it's funny to think that we have these races, and now we're going to go to another kind of races, which is the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, which are normally in.
Well, we are not going to Paris-Roubaix. There's, I guess, since the last time.
Oh, it's not sure.
Not sure.
Oh, it's not sure. Yeah, I thought they.
Well, I think it's not confirmed yet. Amstel Gold Race is cancelled, but Paris-Roubaix is not sure yet. But to come back on Mark Hirshi, he's the real deal. We saw what he was able to do in the Tour de France. 3 big rides, and to come out of this with that kind of form, win Flèche Wallonne, be up there in the World Championships, and now almost winning Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
Not only that, but there were kind of the tables had been turned a bit, where Hirshi and Alaphilippe were actually stronger than Pogačar and Primož on the climbs, the final climbs. I mean, you can see that Pogačar and Primož still made the breakaway, but they weren't the ones making the selection. It was these classic type riders that still have the juice left in their legs to make the difference.
Yep. So Johan, I have a question for you. So are we seeing a young kid who's here to stay, or are we seeing a young kid who's a good bike rider, but who's just riding a wave of momentum and form, or is this going to be? Is he around to stay? I love that.
Stay.
Good.
He's here to stay. He's here to stay, as many other young kids. To talk about Mark Hirshi, let's not forget. If we go back, he was world champion juniors on the velodrome. Then he was world champion under 23.
Yep.
2 years ago. He did an amazing season last year, did a great Tour de France. I mean, this guy's amazing, and he knows how to race. His team has confidence in him. But these young guys, this is what we're gonna see more and more. Like today, for example, in Team Sunweb, the team of Mark Hirshi, Tish Benoot is 26 years old, and he was the oldest one of the team.
Wow.
And let's not forget about next weekend, Tour of Flanders. I mean, we're going to see our boy Søren Kragh Andersen, I believe, if he's racing it, the way he finished the Tour de France and his style of riding, he can probably be winning that as well.
Well, as long as he brings Gwen Stefani to the podium, if he's there, lucky enough to be there, then truly we have a Sky Rock package, and that would be dope.
That would be dope.
Hey, I got to ask you guys about, I was flipping between a couple of different channels covering Liège, and they kept referencing the curse of the rainbow jersey. I want you guys to talk about that. And because, of course, I sat there and I thought I saw Alaphilippe win, and I was like, well, so much for that curse. Well, it turns out it wasn't his best day. What is the story behind that? And is there any legitimacy to it?
That was, I'll let Johan pick it up, but that was, there was a run there, maybe in the middle of our generation, like a decade where they just couldn't get out of their own way. I don't think that Julian Alaphilippe, let's take today aside.
This man over here.
Yeah. I didn't ride great in the rainbow jersey, but
that's what I'm saying.
You know what, man? That hurt, man. I took you all over. We're going, here. This is an amazing trip. You're going to say shit like that to me? I mean, God. Sorry. And you're showered. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, you see him. All right. I just got off the bike helping all these folks. Is that a cocktail? I'm drinking water.
What's in this, Max?
It's pomegranate and ginger.
Okay. So he doesn't have any alcohol in there. He will behave the rest of the time. Let's also talk about the Tour of Italy, which of course, and y'all, this is just a weird season. We're going to have to double and triple up on a lot of things as they try to compress the cycling season into a few months. I mean, we have, 3 Pro Tour races going on all at once. it's a bit of a shame, as we all can appreciate. I mean, Liège is a monument. It's one of the top 5 monuments, but the Tour of Italy is the second biggest bike race in the world, and boom, they're happening at the same time.
Before we go there, we need to point out who called Primoz winning the race. When you said, how can you count out Alaphilippe and Hirshi? Now, obviously, the circumstances were a bit different. He raised his hands, but I mean, think about Primoz Roglic, went through one of the biggest losses of his entire career, getting so close to winning the Tour de France, still there in the first group at the World Championships. Now wins Liège-Bastogne-Liège, arguably one of the hardest World Cups on the calendar in professional cycling. I mean, the guy is an absolute machine. I couldn't be more impressed with the cyclist right now in the Pro Tour peloton.
Well, and yeah, I mean, you did call it. That is true. As we sit there, we're watching the race. George called it. He thought there'd be this play between Hirshi and Alaphilippe, and that Roglic should come in and steal the win. So many things happened, though. You had the Alaphilippe quack, which stopped Hirshi from winning. You had Alaphilippe ultimately being relegated and raising. I mean, there's a lot. There was a lot to unpack in that sprint.
Johan, you're the tactics master. Why don't you explain, when you come to a group like that and you have some of the fastest guys in the peloton, most of the times they're going to negate themselves out of the win because they're going to be playing off of each other.
I know, but you know what? I mean, the 4 guys, I think they were more or less worth each other. You know, I mean, Roglic is not slow. Pogačar is not slow. And after a race like this, anything can happen. You know, if you see how Roglic comes back, I mean, the amount of speed he had, because he was in 5th position at some point. Then Alaphilippe started. He was in 4th position, quite a bit back, and Roglic is fast, you know, and I think he really deserves the win too, because let's not forget that Tom Dumoulin was the guy who was making the selection on the last climb, so he obviously had a lot of confidence in Primoz. They obviously had spoken, and Primoz felt good. So yeah, but you know, I mean, it is very possible if there's really 2 guys in there that are fast or a little bit faster than the rest, that another one takes advantage of it. Now,
and who in the hell was this guy that got shot out of a cannon from the chase group?
That was Mohoric.
I mean, what it was? Where did he come from?
Yeah, now he's probably the fastest and the craziest and the most skillful descender in the peloton. He's the guy actually he invented the super tuck while pedaling. He was double world champion juniors, and that's basically the second time he won the junior world championships. That's how he won. He went away. He got in the super tuck and kept pedaling. But this guy,
Johan, we would have never known that.
I thought Chris Froome invented that move. Everybody credits Chris Froome.
No, he didn't.
And we do. I don't want to stop talking about Liège until we have to talk about Chris Froome, who made his sort of his re-entry back into a monument or big time Pro Tour race. Not a good day for him. Look, George's buddies with him. I don't want to upset anybody. I think this guy's in trouble. I don't think we see the same Chris Froome ever again. But had a really hard day today, yeah.
Well, hopefully it just came off of a. I say hopefully because of my relationship with him, came off a big training block at altitude, and Liège might not be on his plans to be there, but you still want to be there with the best guys if you want to be one of the best guys at the Vuelta.
George, it's still not. I mean, a Chris Froome who's not on his highest level should not get dropped with 100 kilometers to go, even if it's not on his program. Even if he's called up the day before and he sees it as a training ride, he should be. I mean, I'm very worried about his level. And let's not forget, you know, in one of the earlier podcasts, we had Giuseppe Belocchi on the show, and we asked him about Chris Froome. He had kind of the same accident, and Giuseppe said, you know, I hope for him, but I think it's very difficult. He's going to come back to the same level, and you know, I think it's going to be hard for him. He's apparently he is very single-minded, super disciplined, trains like an animal. But there's just certain things that you can't get over. And I think that injury was a very serious one, which is, you know, at his age, going to be very difficult to come back from.
Explain to me, Johan, why we're seeing guys like Superman Lopez. We're seeing now Primoz. They're talking about him doing the Vuelta. Are they not tacking on too much of these guys' schedules? I know they had pretty much the whole year off, but after a Tour de France like that, after World Championships like last weekend, after Liège, at some point you got to give these guys a little bit of rest and get them ready for the next season. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
No, I think there's different. I mean, in the case of Primoz and Pogacar and these guys that they do the classics, that's basically all that's left, right? Because there's the Giro and then the Vuelta. Both so I don't think Pogacar will do the Vuelta and Roglic won't do the Vuelta.
They said on TV Primoz was doing the Vuelta.
Oh wow!
I don't know if I misunderstood that, but yeah, that's my point. Is like, and seeing Superman at the Giro. Of course, I think he's leaving the team, so
I think
they want to get everything they can out of him.
Yeah, I think the fact that Superman Lopez at the Giro that has to do with the fact that he's leaving the team, and anyway,
that's a punishment by this Vinokurov. It's a punishment. That's 100% punishment. And by the way, he's no longer there anymore, so good for him. Don't take that.
Well, that we don't want to see him going out like that. Apparently, he's in the hospital. Johan said he's got some pretty serious injuries, as does my good friend Greg Van Avermaet, which we're hoping and praying that they get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys noticed that normally it's not unusual to have two races and two squads going to two different countries and racing, but when they're this high level, this important, are some teams say, you know what? We're a classics team. Let's double down on that. Let's not worry about the Giro of Vuelta, or vice versa. We need some Grand Tour presence.
Yeah, this year is different, JB. This year is different. We don't know. Like now, for example, let's say if you bet everything on the what was supposed to be the Spring Classics, which are now gonna. I mean, it looks for the moment like there's a probability it's only going to be Tour of Flanders. Amstel Gold Race is cancelled already. Paris-Roubaix, we're not sure yet. So I guess as of now they just take whatever they can because nothing is sure.
Look, I mean, this is a sport that is on the limit, on the ropes. This is a tough time in the sport of cycling when it comes to team sponsorship, funding, event sponsorship. These guys, I mean, I'm sure the directors of these teams are just sitting around. I mean, there's teams folding, not just on the Pro Tour level, but, under 23 or other, second division teams. This is a hard time. I mean, they got to be sitting around going, boys, this is going to suck, but we got to get out there, and they got to hope that the races actually happen. And so they really don't have a choice. Collectively, we all, right? I mean, we're all sitting here talking about these events, which have the teams and the athletes and the stars. If those don't happen, we don't have anything to talk about. So we're all crossing our fingers and hoping that that the sport can navigate a global pandemic. Meanwhile, struggle for sponsorship renewals or just keeping the team alive. You got to do what you got to do.
Just in the last since we finished the tour, we've seen two teams now are going to most likely be out of the peloton: CCC and NTT. So that's a huge blow for the sport.
They shouldn't have three letters. They should. The teams with three letters are gone. Could that be a thing?
We should bring Max in, talk about Palestine.
I know we're gonna. Would you quit messing that up? We're in Lebanon.
Talk about the ride, the fundraising ride. This is what happened when you rush me after a ride.
Let's we'll talk briefly about the Tour of Italy and the BinckBank Tour, but also I just want to say this is a new supporter of ours, and these guys have a really cool concept. It's called the Pros Closet, right? So most of us, you grew up going to a bike shop and buying a bike. That's probably how most people traditionally do it. The Pros Closet has come along and completely reinvented the way that people are going to buy bikes, and not just when you think about buying a used car, what is the thing you want if you want to guarantee that you have a high quality car, decent car? It's a certified pre-owned, right? So they've come in and done the very same thing for bikes. They have a wide selection, not just road bikes, mountain bikes, cyclocross bikes, gravel bikes, e-bikes. They put every single bike through a 141 point test or system of filters to make sure that it fits their standard. Head on over to theproscloset.com/TheMove, 10% off on all 2020 and 2021 bikes. So they even have new bikes. Theproscloset.com/TheMove. All these bikes, again, certified pre-owned. And 100 and JB joking with me earlier, he's like, name all 141 tests they put it through. Sorry for the siren in the back. We're in a crazy part of the world. I don't know exactly what's going on. And also 18-month buyback guarantee from these guys. proscloset.com/TheMove. Last one of the day. Today's show brought to you by LMNT. I talk about it all the time. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This is, and thank you all for supporting this brand. We've got a bunch of feedback from LMNT that our listeners and viewers have really, wanted to try LMNT. It's my go-to. George joked with me on the ride today. I was wearing a cotton tee. He was wearing a thing. Looked
still
like
has the same T-shirt on.
I do.
The ride,
I do. He looked like he was about to do a time trial through the streets of Beirut, and I was sweating my ass off. I mean, it was for real. But you know what I had in the bottle? I had LMNT, 3 or 4 different flavors. What is it? 100 milligrams of sodium, bunch of other nutrients in there, minerals. It is my go-to for hydration. It's for me. It's a game changer. It doesn't stop me from sweating, but at least I know that I'm going to replace a bunch of this stuff. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/TheMove. Money back guarantee as well. Money back guarantee. All right, Johan, bring us up to speed on the Giro and then the BinckBank tour, which I didn't even know was happening. I didn't even heard of it.
Yeah. So anyway, the Giro started yesterday. They're in Sicily. The first 4 stages are in Sicily. Yesterday was a prologue, 15 kilometers. I mean, that's a time trial already. Won by Filippo Ganna, as I predicted first.
I was just going to say, I think you predicted that the other day after the World Championship show.
It was not a difficult prediction. But amazing. He won the prologue, 58.8 kilometers average speed. Yeah. It was. I mean, it was a 1 kilometer uphill and then all slightly downhill. But still, the wind was incredible. There was like at least 10 crashes. Superman Lopez was one of them. Really a weird crash.
If you haven't seen that crash, pull it up on YouTube. It's pretty crazy to watch.
It's weird. It's very weird. And he had I thought he would maybe get back up and try to make it to the finish, and try to be there for the team, But apparently, he had a very severe an important artery which is close to the.
That's in English. That's arterial.
Arterial. Okay. Arterial. Sorry, I'm not perfect in English, guys. I
love you. I love you.
Yeah, I know. So he needed to have surgery immediately. He's doing okay. But obviously game over for him. Geraint Thomas yesterday was 4th in the prologue and already took a minute and more on certain co-favorites, on Fuglsang, on Nibali.
I think that's the big story, Johan. I mean, when you couple not just his performance, but with his disappointment of not being selected for the tour, we talked a lot about this during the tour. That's, taking nothing away from Ghana winning the first pink jersey of this Giro, but that's the story. Like and I just, by the way, I love that. Like, I love a guy gets left at home. It's like, really?
Well, we'll know more in the next couple of days. Isn't like the next tour, maybe the 3rd or 4th stage, they go up Mount Etna already. So we're going to see how well he's climbing.
Well, they do, but guess you know what Geraint Thomas was saying last night. Okay, y'all know what he was saying. If you don't know what he was saying, I'm going to tell you what he was saying. That fucker sat down. He said, "Mr. Momentum just moved his address.
Got the mo.
He's got the mo."
But I think it's an incredible advantage already. If you look, there's 63 kilometers of time trial in this Giro. So let's say compared to Nibali and Fuglsang, who would be his 2 main contenders, and maybe Simon Yates. But that's 5 minutes. 63 kilometers. If you look at it conservatively, but to have a minute already in 15 kilometers, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So he's definitely the winner of yesterday. And then today, another strange thing, Vlasov, who's the co-leader of Astana. Astana had for sure the strongest team. They had Fuglsang, Miguel Angel Lopez, and Vlasov. And, they're down to 1. Miguel Angel Lopez crashed out yesterday, and Vlasov today abandoned. He was sick apparently yesterday. So that's going to be a difficult Giro for them. Fuglsang is not out yet, but obviously he's going to have to follow the favorites and make sure he doesn't take the jersey because he won't have a team to defend it.
And when is Mount Etna?
I think it's
like
in 2
2 days from now. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's that'll be great to watch.
Where is
go ahead, Jibby.
Where is Geraint Thomas contractually? We know, there was not taking Froome to the Tour because he's changing teams. Where's Thomas, and can he be the top dog at Ineos again?
No,
he's still under contract. He's still under contract with Ineos.
Yeah. And if you don't think a minute's a big deal, just ask Primož Roglic. I mean, a minute's a minute. Yeah, it just is. And yeah, I'm rooting for him. I think he deserves to come out guns a-blazing. Good for him. All right. Well, what we saw also, last one here before we bring in Max to talk about Bike for Beirut, the BinckBank Tour, this MVP or Matteo van der Poel, a.k.a. MVP. George and I were watching the stage yesterday. The way he went up Gerardsbergen.
Yeah, it reminded me of when Cancellara dropped Boonen off his wheel in the Tour of Flanders. It
was twice as fast.
And in fact, he started pulling from the bottom and just kept going faster and faster. It was one of the most impressive things I've seen. I'd love to see his time up to Gerardsbergen compared to the others fastest times that have been part of that race before. And then to stay away solo for the next 50, 60 Ks, and not only. I mean, he just basically hung on by threads. He won by like 4 seconds. So the effort he put in, and like you said, Johan, still there fighting for the win in Liège-Bastogne-Liège the next day is mind-boggling.
Well, I was shocked yesterday. I saw the interview post-race, and the guy said, "Okay, and now Liège-Bastogne-Liège," and I thought the guy was joking, right? I said, "No way he's going to do Liège-Bastogne-Liège," and he said, "Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how I recover."
No way.
In the final, he's there. He's fifth in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and obviously he was not getting any help in the back. He was pulling all the time, and then being able to win that sprint. This is going to be the rider of the second part of the season.
So he wins Flanders.
Who would beat? I mean, it's going to be a battle between him and Wout van Aert, but
that's going to be so exciting to watch then. And also, arguably, the best team will be. Quick-Step is usually the best team. Lotto's got a ton of pressure on them to perform in these classics.
Yeah.
But then you have these two favorites that, Wout van Aert's going to have a good team for sure, but I'm not sure about MVP's team.
Yeah. Well, his team is a lot, Alpecin Phoenix is a lot better than everybody thinks. They have a lot of good riders. They have strengthened themselves for next year also. They signed Jasper Philipsen, the sprinter, the Belgian sprinter, and then a few other guys. So they have a strong team. They have a strong team. But now that we're talking about Van der Poel, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention. It's not related with the Giro or Liège-Bastogne-Liège, but I think this is another guy that is going to be a very, very big figure in the future. He is already. We all talk about Van der Poel being so multi-skilled. Cyclocross, road, mountain bike. Tom Pidcock.
Yeah.
Do you know that guy, Lance?
Oh yeah.
Tom Pidcock.
Yep.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. What do you want me to say? I mean, listen. Johan. I don't appreciate putting me on the spot like the listener and the viewer. They know that I'm done totally transparent. I'm going to just answer. So, but you put me on the spot. All right. It's my show. I just have you rock stars on to help support me. But no, I've never even heard that name in my life. But I'd love to hear more, as would everybody else listening.
Tom Pidcock. I mean, since we're talking about Van der Poel, I want to compare him because he's world champion cyclocross under 23. 3 weeks ago he won the Giro under 23 and 3 stages. He did. Because of a lack of world championship under 23 in Italy, he raced with the pros, was up there until the final, and now decided to say, okay, I'm going to go do some mountain bike races. He did his first World Cup race mountain bike, and he just won 2 races in the World Cup.
And he's a British guy?
He's British, and he just signed for Ineos.
That just shows you all how clever I am. I mean, when you roll out the name Tom Pidcock, I was like, that has to be British. That's not Belgian. It's not French. It just sounds British.
I guess so. Yeah.
No, but he's in this. That it's exciting to see all these new young guys. And there's so many good guys. I mean,
but hang on. I mean, I love it. You're right, Johan. We talk about it all the time. There's going to be so many stars of the sport going forward. We also just said this is a sport that's on life support, struggling to maintain and keep sponsors. This is the time. And by the way, they're all good kids from what I can tell. Like we are going to be treated with a decade plus of amazing personalities, amazing talents. This is a sport that needs to be supported and funded and honestly, needs to, as far as I'm concerned, go up 3 or 4 tiers in the whole spectrum of world sport. But I mean, this is the time. This is going to be.
Well, there's no doubt we're getting more attention from countries like Asia, the Middle East, and perhaps this is going to bring more money, more support into these big teams, which we all know cost a lot of money, and it's been hard to find long-term sponsors to stay with these teams. But hopefully that'll start changing.
Yeah. So let's, unless we have anything else, I'm gonna bring Max.
One last thing that came up before you bring in Max.
Yeah, go for it.
We do want to hear why you guys are there, but we should touch on the jersey fine, the EF jersey fine, and
I love it.
Consistency of that sort of deal. I guess you guys had something similar back in the day where you had changed the jerseys. There were fines but these guys had permission for this jersey. Am I correct on that, Johan?
I didn't. We were in the middle of. Johan knows the details, but we were in the middle of traveling over here, so I sort of missed some of it. I didn't know that there was previous permission, and we did. We got in trouble when we switched the jerseys on Radio Shack there to the all black jersey. Now, the only thing I'll say is we actually switched to a jersey that was super dope looking. Like, it was amazing. So I don't know if there was previous permission or there was fines or there was whatever, but I just tell you something. Whoever designed that jersey, they ought to be fined. Okay. They ought to be suspended. This is I'm calling for a worldwide suspension because honestly,
I would have to agree. They said something about being a streetwear design, and I'm not feeling it.
Man,
it's pretty ugly.
Man, Johan, what was the deal?
Well, I mean, the initiative came because since they're pink, they wanted to do a favor to the organization and make it different from the pink jersey.
Well, they did that.
They definitely did, yeah. So I don't know where the design comes from. Apparently, it's an in-house designer of Rafa who came up with the idea. They did get permission apparently, but for some reason the UCI decided that the jersey they asked permission for was a bit different from the one they're using, so they got fined. They got a lot lesser fine, though. I remember when we got the thing going on with the black jersey, we got 1,000 Swiss francs per rider fined. I got 2,000. The other director got 2,000. Plus, I got 2 months suspension. I got 2 suspended.
Oh man! So this is, and if you're watching the show, this is what we're talking about, all right? And look, Rafa's a great brand. It has been a fantastic success story in cycling. But have you guys ever seen? And anybody listening can go onto YouTube and just. It's an amazing clip where a guy was tripping on acid, and his friends recorded him, and then they did this whole animation with the salamander. Over it, right? And so in the stuff this guy says as he's tripping on LSD was so fun. You can't believe what he says, but I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not saying that anybody was tripping when they made this jersey, but you know what? By the way, here's the reality. Okay, and when I saw the story come out, we're talking about it. Everybody's writing about it. They might pay a fine. They might have whatever. We are talking about it. So you know what? They're all sitting. Guess who's laughing?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, none of those guys look too happy in that picture, though.
It doesn't matter if they're happy. But if Rafa, we are talking about the jersey. Trust me, JB just pulled up a picture. If they're not watching the show, then they're giving it a goog. So you know what? In that regard,
good point.
Definitely, they definitely created a buzz. But I mean. I don't really understand how a sponsor like Education First, EF, can. I mean, they're going to talk about the jersey during the Giro, but EF is not visible on this jersey.
No.
So any win they get, it's going to be all about the design of the jersey, but not about the sponsor.
Well, that's ultimate. That should be ultimately up to the person who's paying the big bill.
Exactly.
And that would maybe they took a day off. But all right, hey, been fun talking about this stuff with y'all. I'm going to bring in Max Chaya here. Max, walk around this way. Are you going to donate your mic, or do you?
Yeah, well, if I can say something too, Max has been the ultimate.
You can
guide.
say whatever you want.
Max has been the ultimate tour guide here in Beirut. I mean, the one thing I've been continually impressed with is how nice and hospitable the people are here, and just been truly amazed by this trip. And I hope to be back here in 1 year when the city becomes back to where it was before the explosion. But we're just honored to be here. We want to thank you so much, Max, for having us. And this is the most enthusiastic person I've ever met on the bicycle. And he's made our time here in Beirut just super special. So thank you, Max.
Yeah. Donate your cans too. You can go, guys and gals, George is going to go have another fruity cocktail. But so, ladies and gentlemen, Max Chaya, who here from Lebanon, and for those who follow sort of extreme sports or extreme tests of human nature and human spirit, this man's done it. I mean, how many times Everest, K2, all the big peaks. He's ridden across on a fat bike, all the big deserts around. We rode across the Indian Ocean.
Yes, I did.
That's crazy. I mean. row your boat. You got to talk into that mic. But Max, thanks for being here. But tell us about just obviously maybe some background on the explosion, which I think as an American and for anybody listening in the States was completely it wasn't ignored, but with so much going on in the mainstream news between COVID, the election, all of the madness. I mean, the explosion here in this city was a day's news in the U.S., which is a shame. And if you have seen it, you'll understand it was terrible. But take us back to, and it's actually 2 months to the day today.
Today, yes. It was the 4th of August, like you say, Lance, and thanks for having me here.
You bet.
It was like nothing before. I mean, we're used to bad stuff. But during the war...
What's bad stuff? Define bad stuff.
I mean, shells and bombs and 155 mortars.
Let's hope that doesn't happen in the next 24 hours.
Car bombs and whatever.
Oh, my God. Maybe we should talk faster.
But no, this was way, way, way beyond. I live at 2,400 meters of altitude, like a 40-minute drive from here, and my house shook. So this was terrible, and the people are devastated.
Yep.
As you saw, the devastation is immense, and that we're all heartbroken. But it warms our hearts for people from more than halfway across the world to come over here and lend a helping hand and give us hope. Well,
a shout out to the great man, Tom Barrick, who asked us to come over. Tom, originally from Lebanese descent, said, would you guys be willing to go over and do a benefit ride for everybody affected by this massive explosion? And again, if you haven't seen it, just go on. It's the third biggest explosion in the history of the world.
And it's the largest explosion non-nuclear.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you watch this and then you hear that only 200 people lost their lives. However, 300,000 people displaced or homeless. And we toured, what is effectively ground zero yesterday. You just cannot believe the level of power that must have come out of that, the devastation. Oh, man, I told Lance and George and Tom and Ziad and everyone, it's difficult to explain. Words cannot explain what you saw today. And the devastation is even more. And what's worse, Lance, is all these young people full of passion and energy and love for their country have lost hope and are leaving. And this is what's terrible. So you coming here, it's not just to raise funds and awareness, but to bring back hope to these people and maybe come back one day. That's what you hear it all the time. A country that has had plenty of unfortunate things happen over the last, it goes back 1,000 years, even longer. You constantly hear, when you talk to people here, true intellectuals, and the thing they worry about the most is what they call the brain drain. Like if you're a young person here, you've got many, many religions in this country. So there's plenty of conflict and controversy in and around that. You have a government that many, many people question. You have an economy that's in a true recession or a meltdown. And so their biggest fear is that the best and the brightest just say, you know what? I'm going to move to France. I'm going to move to America. I'm going to leave. And so all the best and brightest are, that's their fear.
But hopefully, like Tom, they'll reach out and come back and maybe lend a helping hand. Sooner or later, this place is going to be fine. Yeah. But hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people, and I don't want to be critical of Lebanon, because I got to tell you one thing. I had no fear coming here, and I have not felt scared the entire time. But you know, my mom is like, "Are you sure you're going?" I said, "Of course, Mom. This is fine." But the people have been wonderful. The event today to see, and we partnered with 4 locally based NGOs. Incredible work they're doing. We stopped along the route at all 4 of those places: the Red Cross, the Heart Hospital, the convenience store.
Yes, and the offre joie, which means to give without asking. These are people rebuilding homes that have been destroyed.
Right. You see the passion. And we were riding, by the way, we started and finished the ride at the site of the explosion, and then riding through these neighborhoods. You just can't believe the devastation that took place. There's still stuff just everywhere. But you know, good on them for rising to the occasion. And that's what matters, right? I mean, bad things happen all the time. And what matters most is who stands up and says, all right, we're going to come back.
We're going to come back. We will come back. And with many, many thanks to you and everyone who came, Tom, George, Ziad, and all the people who rode with us today, and those who also contributed to these 4 NGOs. A great big thank you from all the NGOs and all of the people of Beirut who need people to come back to them and give them hope. I believe this is the most important thing we can give to those youth who are leaving, hope, to maybe one day have a proper country.
Love that. I love that.
You know, just to jump in here, and I'm sure you know this, Lance, and probably shared it with your new friends there, but the huge influx of Lebanese people into Austin, Texas, back in the mid to late 1800s. Lots of immigrants. So a bunch of our original merchants downtown were all Lebanese families, and still a part of our community.
I'm glad you brought that up, JB. I did an interview yesterday with the big economic magazine here in Beirut. And I said, listen, as a matter of fact, not just in Austin, but Central Texas, if you go back and look in Austin and you look at its rise and you look at the people that really made Austin a successful place, between the Jabors, the Josephs, all of these, I mean, a bunch of really, really successful and humble people. Like these guys aren't tooting their own horn or bragging. They just created successful businesses. By the way, I don't know if y'all can hear that in the mic. Hold your mic up, Max. So is this, how many, 5 times a day? 5 times a day. So this country is one of the first countries in the Middle East to have a synagogue, a church, and a mosque all side by side. So now is the call, and we hear it 5 times a day.
That's right. The call for the prayer for the Muslims to pray. And soon you'll hear the bells ring on Sunday.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been a beautiful experience. We thank you for having us. We're here for you.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And you get the boomstick today.
I get the boomstick. This guy, by the way, this guy on the ride, if I had $1, I should have just made it 20 because it would have zeroed out all the F-bombs I said during the show. But I had 20 for every time he said, see you in the douches. He said, I saw George back there. I told him, I said, I'll see you in the douches. I mean, this man is the biggest fan of the move. And by the way, here in another, 11 days, you're going to attempt, or you're going to do the Everesting thing.
Yes. I'll be attempting the Everesting, and for an NGO as well. One of the NGOs that I'm an ambassador for, just to raise some funds.
I'm going to read something funny that he sent me this morning. I was supposed to do a training ride with him at 6:30, but I overslept. He said, and he sent me a visual of his training ride. He said, this morning's training while you were hugging your pillow, see you in the douches. This is what he said to me. I loved it. Thank you, Max.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to a special edition of The Move. Live to you from Beirut, Fort Worth, Texas, Madrid, Spain, and onward. We're on our way to the next stop on this trip. But Max, thanks for being here. Best of luck to you all, to everybody in this sweet country. People have been wonderful. So thanks for hopping on.
Thank you for being here.
And good luck Everesting.
Oh yeah, but we have something else to do before the Everesting.
What's that?
Tomorrow, no? Or the day after?
Who knows? I don't even know what I'm doing. All right, thanks for tuning in, y'all.